I think there were some ahas that came out of this exercise that said, perhaps not. Perhaps there are benefits. Reasons for low scores. In some cases, people were telling us through the committee that there are other limitations that we've got that prevent the purchase of needed hardware and software. And I know two departments right now that have expressed that need, and you'll see them highlighted in the report. Also, department heads have a lot on their plates right now, as you know. Technology may not be central to the day-to-day operations of their particular department. However, if computers go down, routers go down, then guess where their focus is? I got to fix it, otherwise I'm dead in the water. So that takes time away from the day-to-day operations of their specific departments. Same is the case in the private sector as well. In some cases, we've got a lack of needed IT expertise, and as I mentioned before, this expertise level varies tremendously in various departments. In some cases, people are saying, you know, I need faster throughput. This is particularly true, for example, in professional services. People do a lot of collaborative work around the world and say, we don't have streaming video. I don't have this, I don't have that. And so I need faster throughput. So I want to be on that list when OpenCape comes and it's available. Okay? So some reasons you can see more listed there, but I just want to highlight a few of them with you. The reasons for high scores and for low scores. All right, flip that sheet over if you would and look at the back side on phase 2, and that's the future state. You'll notice the same functions or applications on the left-hand side, and across the top you'll see the same. You'll see, in this case, I use the private sector, starting with the Chamber of Commerce, hospitality, construction, property management, real estate, and so on. We asked each of the team members, again, this is phase 2, vision of where we expect to be come 2013 when OpenCape is operational. We asked people to do 3 things. Number 1 is to identify which of these applications you anticipate you were going to be performing using broadband technology, some of which would be OpenCape, some would not. I'm sorry, there were 4 things we asked them to do. Second was, for all those applications you've identified, rate them as either high, medium, or low. You can say HML. High means I have to have it. I must have it. Medium means it would be nice to have. And low is if I didn't get it, it would be okay. So for example, in the case of e-permitting, you'll see the priority was high. So needless to say, they said we've got to have it. The next question we asked them to do is, for those you've identified as being needed, or you will be that you will be performing in January of 2013, which of them have regional implications? It could be in the decision of what the solution is. It could be in decisions of policy or procedures or whatever. The third thing we said, or fourth thing we asked them to do was, for those you've identified that you're going to be performing in 2013 and beyond, which require OpenCape. Understand that the answers to these questions were based upon our knowledge about OpenCape to this point. It is an evolving concept. We are learning all the time and working closely with CapeNet to learn, get smarter and smarter and smarter about what is, what isn't, what the costs will be, and so on and so forth. But based upon our knowledge at this point, people took a shot at it. So in the case of e-permitting, just to use as an example, the priority was very high. Certainly it's being discussed at the regional level, but at this point, it does not require OpenCape connectivity. Doesn't require it. Another example, if you move down to police, fire, ambulance, and so on, about maybe 10 lines down, you'll see warnings, alerts, warnings and alerts. High priority, regional implications, and it requires OpenCape. Again, that's how we interpret what you see on that printed page. Okay? This is fairly extensive. It's about 8 pages long, so at least you get a sense of it. All right? You'll see the results in Appendix 4 or something in the back of that plan. You get a sense of where we're going, how we use this? Okay. In terms of the key findings, again, 139 applications. The applications that will be performed post 2013, 114 or 82%. Those that were rated must-haves, just under 70%. And of those 78, 1/3 of them require OpenCape. In the case of the private sector, 77% identified for use. Of those 79, 74 were rated high must-haves. And then of those, almost 50% will need OpenCape. Some interesting results. Interesting results. So there's some sense of there's value here when it comes to Open Cape and its existence and connectivity. It varies, okay, based on industry, but there is some need for it, for sure, some interest. Key findings, and I'm not going to read all of these, just to say that a number of things that we're doing today are going to continue post January of 2013. In fact, almost all of them. And there's a need for, seen for Open Cape capabilities. Key departments here, library, education, and public safety. I'll highlight why, because of all the regional things that are going on and discussions that are being held, as well as the planning for the new high school. I mean, we are, you know, as you'll see in Jim Birchfield's action plan, it's really an important part of their planning when they build the physical plan itself. There's acknowledged that even though I may not have a specific need for Open Cape capabilities, if I can get that increased throughput at a cost that's equal to or less than I get today, then I might be interested. I probably will be interested. And I know when it comes to the private sector, they're exploring those possibilities. And certainly we know that access to this kind of throughput is great for economic development, and we believe will attract businesses to Harwich and will retain some businesses that might be thinking about leaving. Let's talk about action plans specifically. We talked before about where we are now. We just finished with where we plan to be, and I give you some highlights from that. Now let's talk about the specific action plans. Again, I'm not going to read all of this, but I want to give you some highlights from it. Town administration first, e-permitting and licensing. Grant application is either under review or will be under review by the state. If that's positive, the RFP will be issued, and then we will evaluate that resulting offering and make a decision as to whether we're going to participate or not. If not, the plan is at this point to continue to expand our GEO TMS product, basically to pursue the path we had been on. In terms of internet access, the bottom line is it's a value proposition. If we see that the value is there, then we'll connect with Open Cape, and it'll be on an application by application basis. But I believe that we're pursuing this, we will pursue this case by case analysis with an open mind. Water department, they believe that they're performing. If you look at the ratings underneath the water department, they're performing very well now with the technologies they've got. In some cases, they're way beyond other departments in terms of the use of technology. So it's been a real eye-opening experience sitting down with having them share what the kinds of things that they're doing in terms of VoIP and so on. Surveillance cameras are an issue for them right now because they don't have internet access. So access is going to be an issue. You'll recall that when I laid out the map for Harwich, there was nothing that went down Chatham Road as a lateral to connect the water department. So certainly access is going to be an issue. And you're going to see some work on the private sector that may help them with that issue. And you see a comment about the 3,000 feet from Route 28. Nearest point of connectivity appears to be at the intersection of Chatham Road and Route 28. The good news is that CapeNet puts slack loops every quarter mile, extra cable, if you will. It'll make it easier for us to connect if we so choose to do so. And I guess that's part of the agreement you have, Dan, with CapeNet? Okay. Bottom line is they're going to weigh the cost versus the benefits on a case-by-case basis. But certainly when it comes to video surveillance, the need is widespread across town in both the public and private sectors. So at the very least, there's going to be a need to come up with a solution on that. Public safety. The discussion about regional dispatch weighs heavily on their game plans, in the sense of connection of headquarters with East Harwich, as well as where is the regional dispatch on the sheriff's office going to be located. If it's located in Sisson Road, then that may alter their plans in terms of what they do and how they do it, in terms of connections with Open Cape. As you can imagine, there's increasing needs, okay, for access to shared databases. And as such, Open Cape connectivity is going to be essential to do that. Video surveillance, you see that listed again. 700 megahertz system, they look forward to getting it. Why? Because they don't have a lot of that connectivity when it comes to the fire department, and and can be enhanced, okay, and on police as well. So the availability of 700 megahertz is going to certainly help them. And you can see down below with Cape and Islands, the discussions are underway with Cape Cod Hospital about tying the ambulance corps into Cape Cod Hospital's information systems. And if so, would probably make use of the 700 megahertz network. And in addition to that, disaster center connection, there obviously are benefits, not only for the library with the increased use in this area, but as well with public safety as it relates to using the Open Cape connectivity to connect with Cape Cod Tech. Questions on public safety? Big player, big player. Highways and maintenance, another department that is not connected, is not on a lateral right now, down Queen Anne Road. They believe their current access is sufficient, and they believe that the major issue, this is Link Cooper saying the major issue here is more of a budget issue, and the sense that we could do what we do better, more effectively, more efficiently with newer technology, hardware and software. That is not to say that down the road, if there's a solution which could easily connect highways and maintenance, that perhaps that department might be more receptive. We'll see. Again, you know, we have the proof is in the pudding. Education, big player, as in their planning, and you can see Jim has talked about making sure he's connected with the architect and the building needs committee, and they all agree that Open Cape is essential for them to complete the entire package, to make it state of the art, to make that new facility, that new building, state of the art. When it comes to elementary school, it's a little different. It's kind of a funny situation in the sense that, as Robin was talking about before, they're sort of waiting to see what is decided about how we're going to use the middle school. Because the elementary school is physically connected with the middle school, if Open Cape, for whatever means, is connected, is drawn across the street and connected to the middle school, they will probably connect through the physical plant to that network. If the middle school is not connected to Open Cape, they will probably remain with Comcast. It's a cost issue, frankly. It's a cost issue. One thing, by the way, on the first point with education, it's nice to know we have this conduit running up Oak Street, because most likely that will be the conduit that we'll use to run fiber up to the schools, up to the high school specifically. Any questions on highways and maintenance or education? Okay. The library. In this case, when it comes to integrated library functions, CLAMS is talking with Open Cape, and Dan probably knows more about that than I do, in terms of coming up with an agreement that will represent the whole organization relative to how we're going to connect and how, with Open Cape. As you can see now, the library is going to, the Brooksville Library is going to aggressively pursue Open Cape access to provide the following services, and you see them listed there. I'm not going to read them all to you, but it's pretty widespread, pretty diverse. And it doesn't mean to me it's going to be a replacement for what exists today. It's going to be in addition to, so people will have access. Also, in the last point, per FEMA and MEMA, there is discussion about the need for libraries to become increasingly involved in emergency situations and disaster situations. And so I know that you're talking, I guess, is it with Lee Culver? And, okay, you're in, okay. And they need a generator for that to make that happen. Again, we talked about choke points when it comes to this project. The choke points can either be in the middle mile, which is the Open Cape network, it can be inside the building. Now, if you've got this monster pipe that comes up to the side of a building, we hook it up to the building, and then we go inside, and the technology is if it's very antiquated, and then where's the choke point? If the routers are very, very old or very slow, where's the choke point? That's every single department within the town. It's also true for private sector as well. The good news is we bring the Ferrari up to the front door, okay, and we can only support a Volkswagen on the backside. Questions on the library? Big user. Let's talk about the private sector. What's nice about the approach that they took is they brought Gary De Silva and Tony De Silva. I keep going with Gary. Sorry, I apologize. Tony De Silva in to talk about CapeNet, to talk about Open Cape and the possibilities. And from that brainstorming session, they came up with a plan that'll help potentially optimize the use of Open Cape capabilities by a widespread portion of the private sector. So in other words, we don't have to have business by business connect to Open Cape, but we might be able to have groups of businesses connect with Open Cape. And the solution that they're looking at is a wireless solution. And you'll see some of the people listed there as the companies that they've identified to go talk to find out, okay, how does your solution work? Who are your customers? And so on, basically to get smarter about it. And then you can see they talking about selected customers, make a no go forward decision, and then identify other potential